Assalamualaikum Dr. Azma. My name is Nurusayana binti Umarazi from Group PST 308. I'm here today to present my topic on greenhouse gas. Let me introduce what is greenhouse gas. Greenhouse gas, sometimes abbreviated GHG, is a gas that absorbs and emits radiant energy within the thermal infrared range. Greenhouse gases cause the greenhouse effect on planet. What are the most important greenhouse gases? The primary greenhouse gases in Earth's atmosphere are water vapor, H2O, carbon dioxide, CO2, methane, CH4, nitrous oxide, N2O, and ozone, O3. Greenhouse gases have a profound effect on the energy budget of the Earth system, despite making up only a fraction of all atmospheric gases. Concentration of greenhouse gases have varied substantially during Earth's history, and these variations have driven substantial climate changes at a wide range of timescales. In general, greenhouse gas concentration have been particularly high during warm period and low during cold period. This picture shows that some solar radiation is reflected by Earth and the atmosphere. Some radiation is absorbed by Earth's surface and warms it. Next, some of the infrared radiation passes through the atmosphere. Some is absorbed by greenhouse gases and re-emitted in all directions by the atmosphere. The effect of this is to warm Earth's surface and the lower atmosphere. Now, we will go further about water vapor. Water vapor is the most potent greenhouse gas in Earth's atmosphere, but its behavior is fundamentally different from that of the other greenhouse gases. The primary role of water vapor is not as a direct agent of radiative forcing, but rather as a climate feedback. That is, as a response within the climate system that influence the system continuity. This distinction arises because the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere cannot in general, but directly modified by human behavior, but is instead set by air temperatures. The warmer the surface, the greater the evaporation rate of water from the surface. As a result, increased evaporation leads to a greater concentration of water vapor in the lower atmosphere, capable of absorbing infrared radiation and emitting it back to the surface. Here the figure shows the hydrological cycle. In the hydrological cycle, water is transferred between the land surface, the ocean, and the atmosphere. Next greenhouse gas is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, CO2, is the most significant greenhouse gas. Natural sources of atmospheric CO2 include outgassing from volcanoes, the combustion and natural decay of organic matter, and respiration by aerobic organisms. These sources are balanced, on average, by a set of physical, chemical, or biological processes called sinks that tend to remove CO2 from the atmosphere. Significant natural sinks include terrestrial vegetation which take up CO2 during photosynthesis. A number of oceanic processes also act as a carbon sinks. One such process, the solubility pump, involves the descent of surface seawater containing dissolved CO2. Another process, the biological pump, involves the uptake of dissolved CO2 by marine vegetation and phytoplankton, which is small free-floating photosynthetic organism living in the upper ocean or by other marine organisms that use CO2 to build skeleton and other structures made of calcium carbonate. As these organisms expire and fall to the ocean floor, the carbon is transported downward and eventually buried at depth. A long-term balance between these natural resources and sinks leads to the background or natural level of CO2 in the atmosphere. In contrast, human activities increase atmospheric CO2 level primarily through the burning of fossil fuels, principally oil and coal, and secondarily natural gas for use in transportation, heating, and electricity production, and through the production of cement. Other anthropogenic sources include the burning of forests and the clearing of land. Besides water vapor and CO2, methane also contribute to the source of greenhouse gas. Methane is the second most important greenhouse gas. CH4 is more potent than CO2 because the radiative forcing produced per molecule is greater. In addition, the infrared window is less saturated in the range of wavelengths of radiation absorbed by CH4, so more molecules may fit in the region. However, CH4 exists in far lower concentration than CO2 in the atmosphere, and its concentration by volume in the atmosphere are generally measured in part per billion rather than ppm. Natural resources of methane include tropical and northern wetlands, methane oxidizing bacteria that feed on organic material consumed by termites, volcanoes, seepage vents of the sea floor in regions which rich with organic sediment, and methane hydrate trapped along the continental shelf of the ocean and in polar permafrost. The primary natural sink for methane is the atmosphere itself, as methane react readily with the hydroxy radical OH- within the troposphere to form CO2 and water vapor. When CH4 reaches the stratosphere, it is destroyed. Another natural sink is soil, where methane is oxidized by bacteria. The next most significant greenhouse gas is surface or low-level ozone. Surface O3 is a result of air pollution. It must be distinguished from naturally occurring stratospheric O3, which has a very different role in the planetary radiation balance. The primary natural source of surface O3 is the subsidence of stratospheric O3 from the upper atmosphere. In contrast, the primary anthropogenic source of surface O3 is photochemical reaction involving the atmospheric pollutant carbon monoxide. Last but not least, additional trace gases produced by industrial activity that have greenhouse properties include nitrous oxide and fluorinated gases, the latter including CFS, sulfur hexafluoride, hydrofluorocarbon, and perfluorocarbon. Nitrous oxide have small background concentration due to natural biological reaction in soil and water, whereas the fluorinated gases owe their existence almost entirely to industrial sources. In conclusion, without the greenhouse gas, the Earth would not be able to support life. But if the greenhouse gas become too strong, the Earth will be too hot to support life. Even a little too much heat could hurt the animals, plants, and everything else on the planet. Without the gases that surround the planet, heat would escape back into space, causing the Earth's average temperature to be about 60 degrees Celsius colder. Thank you for watching.